Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Cheltenham Borough Council Licensing Committee meeting being held on Wednesday, the 6th of December 2003. My name is Councillor Diggory Seacombe, and prior to this meeting, I have been selected as chair of this meeting. This is being streamed live to Cheltenham Borough Council's YouTube channel, and the recording of the meeting will be held for 4 years. If there are any breaks in transmission to the YouTube stream, the meeting will be adjourned for a short period until any such issues are resolved. Please be aware that CCTV and audio recording is now in operation in the public gallery, for those who are up there, and the recordings will be held by the Council for 5 months. Please note also that a fire alarm test is not expected, so if the alarm does sound, you should immediately make your way to the nearest exit, which for almost everyone in this room is through that door over there. So we start with the agenda. Item 1, apologies, and we've had apologies from 3 councillors, Councillors Chidley, Boys and Willingham. And agenda item 2, we have declarations of interest, and none have been received. Agenda item 3 is an application for a private hire vehicle proprietor's licence. And because this is a regulatory item, members must be present and have heard the proceedings in their entirety to vote on this item. And we will ensure that the applicant and the applicant's representative, if they have one, are present in the meeting. I will ask in a moment the licensing officer to introduce the report. Members will get an opportunity to ask the licensing officer questions. The applicant or representative will get an opportunity to ask the licensing officer questions as well. The objector, if any, will be given the opportunity to speak, and we ask any objector to limit this to no more than 10 minutes. The applicant or representative will be given an opportunity to present the application or make their case, and we ask applicants to try and limit this to no more than 10 minutes. Members can ask the applicant questions, and then members will enter the debate. Applicant will be given a final right of reply, and then I will read the resolution that we are voting on, and we will then go to the vote. And so, at this point, I would like to ask the licensing officer to introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Jason Kirkwood. I'm the team leader in licensing. This application has been brought before members is relating to a private hire vehicle licence proprietor's application, and the reason it's being brought before members is that it is not compliant with the council's policy. The council has set a number of requirements in relation to applications for vehicle proprietor's licence. One of those being that a vehicle on first application should be no older than 5 years of age from date of registration. As members will see, this vehicle was registered beyond that date. So it was registered, I understand, in just over 6.5 years ago, and therefore it's not compliant with policy. It is laid out in the report that the reasons why the council would have adopted an age policy, and this would have been aimed at ensuring that the council only licensed on first licence a high standard of vehicle. There is still an element of it being a bit arbitrary, because a vehicle can be 5 years old and can still have quite high mileage on it, might not have been particularly well serviced, may fail the MOT every year with all sorts of faults. But it's obviously a standard that the council brought in to try and keep the standard of vehicles as high as it could. It is a very brief report, and you've obviously got that in front of you. And in the various annexes, we've got some information that's been provided from the applicant to back up the assertion that this is a vehicle of a very high standards, it's a very good quality vehicle, and that the council should licence it, albeit that the age of the vehicle is a departure from policy. In all other respects, the vehicle is of a very good standard, it's been maintained very well, and so public safety is being promoted. And due to the nature of the work that's carried out in this vehicle is more suitable than another cheaper vehicle that might happen to have been 5 years old would be. There's quite a lot of information in there, and obviously the vehicle is of a fairly relatively low mileage. It's only got 58,000 miles on the clock, and the applicant does have the vehicle with him. If anyone does want to see the vehicle, it's parked outside. That's my report, unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you very much. Do members have questions for the licensing officer? Councillor Harman.
Thank you, Chair. My only question is, cars don't get any younger, which is true of all of us, including my car, actually, and me. If we were to allow this, could we set another age limit, so 7 years or whatever, or a standard for the vehicle? But I do accept if we do such a decision to do that, it is quite a big departure from policy.
I think it's the same way you would if you're considering departing from any policy, it's the reasons that are crucial. So that would be where you would be defining those clear reasons of why you're departing from the policy. And you know, the applicant has already put some factors in the mix there. This is a very, very low mileage vehicle. You know, we've probably got some vehicle proprietors that are doing that type of mileage in a year, let alone doing that over the course of 5 or 6 years. You've obviously seen from the MOT history that it seems to be a vehicle that's been looked after. I think those are the sorts of factors, if you were considering departing from the policy, that you'd be considering. Thank you.
Something that I can see in answer to Councillor Harman's question is that setting a limit on vehicles as they come to us could create tremendous precedence amongst all the other taxi drivers, actually. So I think we'll leave it as it stands at the moment. Does any other member have a question for the licensing officer? Right, in that case, Mr. O'Loughlin, have you got any questions for the licensing officer? And if you do, can you press the red button and produce the red light in front of you? I know you've done this before.
No, I don't particularly have any questions. I brought the car here. I made a mistake in the first place by not actually checking the age and what have you. Because I must be honest, I thought the age was 8 years, but I got that wrong. I went and bought the car, and I'm here.
Well, the next item on the agenda is to allow you to present your case and address the committee, so you might as well continue where you've just left off.
Right. I got the car, it's a Mercedes E220. The normal people I carry, I don't do any taxi work around town. All I do is like long distance airports, seaports, that type of thing. An awful lot of people that are in the, or will be in the car, are people who are used to travelling with me over a number of years, really. I do some work with GCHQ, I do some work with Ladies College. I carry the headmistress of the Ladies College. The car itself, in my opinion, is immaculate. And if you wanted to have a look, it's right outside the door at the moment. That's about it, really.
Thank you very much. Do members wish to ask Mr. O'Loughlin any questions? Councillor Wheeler.
Yes, well. Sorry, Mr. Loughlin, you should turn yours off.
Please. Yeah. Thank you.
It's an antiquated system.
Yes, I think I can remember speaking to you once before. Can I just ask, roughly how long have you been driving as a taxi driver or involved with the industry? I do have another question.
Genuinely, I don't know, but probably 15 years, maybe longer.
Switch off again. Yes, I'm not expecting an exact hours and minutes. I mean, that is fine. why you hadn't noticed that there was this age on there. Perhaps you could let us know how that came about.
Yeah, basically I think it was, I remember seeing 8 years somewhere, and it just stayed in my head that the limit was 8 years. Other than that, not really, I suppose, not paying too much attention, I suppose.
From members? I don't know whether you can corroborate the whether there was a different age limit some years ago or not.
I can't. I don't know when the age limit would have changed. Sorry.
Well, we now go into member debate, and before I open this to debate, I will remind you it's important for you to give due regard to the Council's licensing policy, and that if you deviate from that policy, you give clear reasons for doing so. And that's essentially to do with the length of the age of the vehicle when purchased. It's important you only take into account material licensing considerations and that your decisions are reasonable, proportionate and rational. So, any member have anything to say in the debate? Councillor Wheeler.
Yes, again, I can remember the last time we saw this gentleman, and it was quite clear that he takes his job very seriously, and that he's very much respected by his customers. The vehicle, we've looked at the details. I'm really not prepared to go out there in the cold and check your vehicle over, and let's face it, at the end of the day, all we can have a look at is the superficial, you know, is it clean and tidy? We can't get our heads under the bonnet. But it does strike me that this is a high quality vehicle in good condition, and as the officer has said, we could have vehicles coming up with a lot more miles on the clock. I mean, 10,000 miles a year is usually the minimum insurance companies look at, and this doesn't even come up to 10,000 a year since it was made, so it's very young in terms of mileage. It's a high quality car, and it appears from everything we've seen here that it is in very good condition and is hardly likely to be cause for concern. So I'm prepared to believe that it would be okay to, I'm just looking for the, except that it would be acceptable to allow this this car to be used as a taxi.
Thank you. Any other member? I've just got a further question for you, Mr. O'Loughlin. I noticed that you've had several MOTs this year. Is there a reason for that?
To be honest, I don't know. I've had I've had one.
If you'd like me to remind you of the dates, it's in April, August and October.
Yeah, I believe that was because I've only just bought the car maybe a month and a half ago. And I believe the other MOTs were done by the garage that sold me the car. So why they've done two, as you say, one in April, why they did one then, and then another one, and then the next one is the one that I've done, which is, I can't remember the exact date, but just a while ago. If it's any help, I've got a photograph of it, if anybody would want to see that.
No, I think we've got those, but if it's passed every time, then it's in super nick.
Sorry. I believe there's one failure on there, which was actually an engine, not an engine management light, but a light on the dashboard, which we went back, I believe, the same day to have that fixed.
Well, I've noted that, and thank you for your answer there. I think that I'm probably of the same opinion as Councillor Wheeler, and I don't know whether the other two are. Councillor Sankey, you can take part because you arrived just before we started discussing this case. So I'm going to ask for those who are in favour of allowing this vehicle, which is not of the right age but of the right condition, to be accepted as part of the taxi fleet. Those, so you've got a question?
I would also support that, but I think we have to have some mechanism to say for how long, or whether it's subject to a further mechanical inspection in a year's time or something like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I knew I'd seen the 8 years somewhere, and it's about testing older vehicles. I knew I'd read it earlier somewhere, so I know where you've got your 8 years from. I suppose, yes, the car looks immaculate, you know, lovely car. I suppose my only worry is about setting that precedence, and is this going to open the floodgates for other drivers? I don't know. It's just, you know, I think it's that balance, isn't it?
Sorry, I would ask the question that if it was in date and it was only 5 years old, how long does it go on for before it needs examining and retesting?
To pick up a few things here, what will normally happen, a vehicle, if it's less than 5 years old, will, if it meets all of our requirements, it will be licensed, and it will then continue to be licensed on a yearly basis until such time as the policy says it shouldn't be licensed any longer. So normally a policy would say something along the lines of this vehicle may not be licensed beyond a certain date, or there'll be other mechanism that will kick in. The question is only asked on first application. Okay, so that's why it's brought to members today. If you decide to grant it, then this license will continue. This vehicle will continue to be licensed if it meets all our requirements until it meets the other end of the age policy, at which point then it would not be possible to license that vehicle any longer. When it comes to the 8-year issue, a vehicle, once it reaches the age of 8 years old, any renewal after that, we apply a condition that says it has to be tested twice a year. So it will be tested when we grant the licence, and then it will have to be tested on an MOT and a compliance test 6 months later as well. So once it meets the age of 8 years old, it's on a 6-monthly cycle to be tested to a reasonable standard. The other thing, again, just picking this up, in respect of the issue of this setting a precedent, obviously Mr. O'Loughlin has actually bought the vehicle. Regardless of whether someone presents themselves to the committee, if his vehicle is deemed appropriate to be licensed because members feel that we're meeting the aims of the policy still by the standard of the vehicle, notwithstanding the age, then we're not setting a precedent in terms of we're setting a precedent on the basis of that individual case. If someone was to come back and had a vehicle of 6.5 years old, or there or thereabouts, that it was in that kind of standard of condition, and then members would obviously, in all probability, would then grant that same licence. You're not setting a precedent that if someone presents themselves with a vehicle that's even 5 years and 6 months old, if that vehicle wasn't of the same standard, if that vehicle hadn't been properly maintained, then you, in all probability, would not grant that licence. So I think that, you know, that's where the reasons for this decision are quite crucial. The other thing, obviously, that I'm sure Mr. O'Loughlin realises is that if he'd bought this vehicle and you didn't decide to grant this, he would have this vehicle on his hands. He wouldn't be able to kind of say to the council, look, I bought this, you have to licence it for me. You know, the council are considering this application on its merits, not on the basis that he's already bought the vehicle. And I think if anyone's obviously watching this item on YouTube, if any other proprietors are out there, we would always say to them, you have to run the vehicle past us in the first place. The policy is what the policy states, and it has to be exceptional circumstances for us to go beyond that. Thank you.
I think that probably answers any questions about the longevity of this licence. When it's 8 years old, it has to be retested twice a year. So, yes?
To be honest, I'm not sure I'm going to last that long.
Thank you for that touch of humour in the proceedings. So therefore, I go back to members and ask those who are in favour of granting Mr O'Loughlin this proprietor's licence. Those in favour? It's your day today, Mr O'Loughlin. We've passed it. Thank you very much for coming in. You may now leave, unless you wish to hear all the other applications. But
Going into private session, so you can't.
no.
Not really for this meeting, but just a thought. Should we consider changing the age of the vehicle in years to the age of the vehicle in miles for future?
I now have to read the Local Government Act exempt information that in accordance with section 100A brackets 4 Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the remaining agenda items, as it is likely that, in my view of the nature of the business to be transacted or the nature of the proceedings, if members of the public are present, there will be disclosed to them exempt information as defined in paragraphs 1 and 2, part 1, in brackets 1, Schedule 12A, in brackets, Local Government Act 1972, namely that information relating to any individual or information which is likely to reveal the identity of an individual. And then we can, we've now closed the YouTube, and we will, I'll just wait for the next